Good evening and welcome. It's Tuesday, May 12th, 2026, and you are watching Last Week Today. We're a compilation of the most important stories of the week from both legacy and new media outlets. My name is Chuck Black, and my partner in crime tonight, like every night, is Richard Gagnon. Richard, how you doing in the sun?
Oh, I'm just feeling interrogated right now.
We were talking before the show started. You said it's 30 above out where you are.
Actually, I'm looking at the thermometer right now. The sun is shining on it, so it's probably fake, but it's 35.
Holy crap, man.
Yeah.
I'm on. It's sunny out there. It looks beautiful. You've told me in previous episodes that you have a hot tub out there. You are living the life of luxury.
Hopefully, there won't be a fire ban, and we'll be able to fire up the hot tub this weekend.
I appreciate that. You must be getting the tourists starting to come out.
Yeah. Well, this weekend we have a bunch of campers coming. They're coming from the island, so 3 people that are coming, and then of course we have the regular staff. Luke is coming out, and his sweetie. She's coming out Friday. He's coming out Saturday, and the road is in great shape right now. So anybody who wants to come up here, the Forestry Service Road is almost smooth. It's starting to get a little washboardy in places, but it's almost smooth.
And you're doing local maintenance stuff, and you are dealing with the store, and you told me you're shoveling manure.
Yeah, I shoveled shit today, chicken shit.
Yeah, we're gonna do some more of that tonight, hopefully.
All right, yeah, and of course there were bones in there too. So
absolutely, you want to go on to our first story?
Sure.
Our first story tonight is all about the Canadian government. We start in late 2025 with Prime Minister Mark Carney signaling that what everyone thought was a drastic acceleration of natural resource project approvals. This included pipelines. This included macro projects. He promised to do a whole bunch of stuff when the first budget came out in November. But so far, at least, he hasn't really moved forward with anything that I can tell. He's promised a lot, and the goal was pretty obvious, at least in retrospect. His goal seemed to be to pretend to shore up energy security and attempt to soothe the rising tide of separatist sentiment in Alberta while continuing to move forward with green projects. Essentially, he was trying to be all things to all people. And only now are we starting to conclude that maybe he wasn't any of those things to anyone. These days, with reports that, well, first of all, Honda has shelved its multi-billion-dollar EV battery plant in Ontario due to shifting global energy priorities. And that's the big one, but there's a lot of little mandates that are following by the wayside in a way that's starting to make the Liberal government's green transition narrative a little bit shaky. There are significant internal contradictions to date in the government's green transition narrative. As for Honda, as outlined in the May 6th The Deep Dive post under the title, Honda freezes 11 billion electric vehicle plant in Canada. Project cancellation is on the table. Everybody thinks this is going to be canceled, although it hasn't happened yet. Now, this situation follows an initial 2-year postponement announced in May 2025, with the project initially slated to roll out in 2028. Now, Honda had planned to invest more than 11 billion. They had planned to invest 15 billion Canadian dollars in the facilities, and they targeted an annual production capacity of 240,000 vehicles per year. But discussions with the Canadian government are currently underway, and the company has not ruled out not just postponing the project, but canceling the project entirely, depending on evolving electric vehicle policies in North America. So it's not totally up to Canada. It's mostly up to the U.S. And if the U.S. has good policies, Honda's probably going to relocate there because of all the tariffs and stuff rolling out. So this is absolutely a loss for Canada. Now, the questions here are really obvious, and nobody knows the answers. Parliament doesn't want to ask these questions, and everybody's wondering what's going to happen. But the first question is, how will the current, mostly still undefined Carney plan? I use AI for some of this stuff, and the AI called this the Carney plan. How will the mostly ill-defined Carney plan reconcile with Canada's existing 2030 emissions target? Well, nobody knows that. Second question we're all asking is, can faster pipeline approvals actually dampen the Wexit sentiment? The need for Alberta to hold an election referendum in October and decide whether or not they want to stay in Canada. Will this dampen the West's feelings that they're not being heard in Ottawa? Or is the political divide now too deep? And like the first question, no one knows the answer to that one either. And the final question everybody's wondering about, at least in Ottawa, at least in Toronto, is the hesitation in rolling out the Honda plant a sign of a broader collapse of Canada's electric vehicle manufacturing strategy, or maybe even the total manufacturing strategy? The Carney Liberals have done a lot of paperwork. They've passed a lot of laws. They've run the deficit up to $70 billion. But nobody knows the answer to that question either. Anyway, Richard, what do you think?
Yeah, it's Carnage is just destroying everything anyway. So I'm not going to say that anything's going to really happen because nothing has happened so far. And he's talked a lot, but he hasn't done anything.
He's brought several Conservatives and at least one NDP MP over to the Liberal side of the floor, and he's got a majority government now. Not necessarily what the electorate wanted, but he's got his majority.
He hasn't done anything for the people.
No, he hasn't.
He's done it for himself.
Out a budget. He's what?
He's selfish. He's selfish. He's done it for himself, but he hasn't done it for the people.
I think so. He won't tell us how much he's made out of this. He won't tell us what his shares are in you know, at the company that he used to run.
Yep.
I don't know. You're out west. You have more of a pulse on what's going on there than I do. But what do you think the people are thinking?
As far as I can tell, when I talk with people out here, they don't like what he's doing at all. They think he's pretty much useless.
He holds a lot of press conferences. He talks very highfalutin like, and he meets a lot of second-tier world leaders.
AI really has him very well defined now. There are so many videos of him talking about all sorts of things, which he's never mentioned in the public. These are all created by the AIs. Yeah. Every one of them. And the audio and the voice is exactly the same. And all the stuff, the video is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It looks just like him. And I know it's AI generated. Because he's never talking about any of this stuff in the real world.
What's he saying in the AIs?
They're pushing the this new GST thing a lot. Mm-hmm. There's companies out there that are trying to get people to sign up with them so they can they can charge them for extra GST stuff. You know, all this extra money that people are going to be making. Mm-hmm. And they're showing Carney talking about it, and I'm sitting there. That's not what he's saying. He's not saying any of that.
Yeah, but it's what they're doing in the States. It's what corporations are doing with Donald Trump in the States. Not so much now, but when he was popular, they were doing a lot of that.
Yeah, but this is much better AI.
Okay.
If you were to watch this on Facebook, the Facebook Reels, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of these things, and one after the other, and they're all different.
Huh.
And what's really interesting is that they'll create one, and in the morning, it's showing him talking, and he's saying that date is being announced.
Hmm.
So that's actually broadcasting. So they just freshly created it. I know
So
he's not
go.
he's not able to do that. So,
You're saying the propaganda is swaying the low information Eastern voters.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
it is. So, anyways, be aware, people. When I saw all this stuff, I'm seeing it all the time. Every time I see carnage show up on one of these reels, I just blow past it because I know it's a lie. I know it's fake, and he's never said those words publicly.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So they're really manufacturing news.
Well, man, maybe we should legislate AI out of existence. Maybe we should listen to Evan Solomon.
It's out there now. I don't think it'll ever be legislated out of existence.
I agree. There's nothing we can do about it.
No.
Or we can learn to use it.
Well, use it properly, yeah.
Yeah. Shall we go on to our next piece?
Absolutely.
Also in the news this week, I like that graphic. That's a 1.5 year old graphic. I always like that graphic. But I'm not sure I like the story that comes up after this. We're going to talk about the deadly Hantavirus outbreak, which
no.
what? Yes, we're all going to die. This outbreak struck the Dutch expedition ship MV Hondius during its Atlantic Arctic cruise. Evidently, it killed at least 3 passengers of about 150, and it possibly has been able to infect maybe a dozen more. Now, the vessel carrying, like I said, around 150 people from multiple countries docked off Spain's Canary Island after most ports initially refused docking rights to the ship. It stood out there. National authorities helicoptered people away. Canadian health authorities confirmed involvement of several Canadians passengers, and 4 of those passengers were flown to British Columbia for monitored 21-day isolation. And the travel was coordinated by the World Health Organization and Spanish authorities. But that's not all. BC Health Minister Bonnie Henry provided updates, just like in the old days. And there were a number of obvious areas of public concern. For example, there's this May 9th Facebook post, which notes that people can get hantavirus from the COVID-19 vaccination. Then they can test hantavirus positive using the PCR test, and then they may be required to get a hantavirus jab. Is that cost effective or what for Pfizer? I think it's also worth noting that most studies on hantavirus seem to have dropped out of the sky over the last few days. It's almost like a lot of secret documents are being done over the last 3 or 4 years on this, and now they are all out there in public to support some future action. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this seems really, really sketchy. And there's also the May 11th, yesterday's Vigilant Fox post under the title, "The World May Be Entering Another Lockdown Era." This is according to their Daily Pulse segment on the Vigilant Fox. I have a cold. Now that post notes comments last week from Indian Prime Minister Indira Modi, who called on citizens to work from home, return to only taking virtual meetings, social distance, avoid driving whenever possible, and use electric rail systems and public transport instead. Now, according to the vigilant Fox Post, for many people, the messaging feels disturbingly familiar. During COVID, governments first framed compliance as a moral responsibility for the common good. And not long after that, especially for the people who didn't believe in the common good, like me and Richard and lots of others, after that came fines, after that came surveillance, after that came movement restrictions, after that came very aggressive enforcement across much of the world. And now, a growing number of critics are asking what happens when every major crisis, from pandemics to the shortages to climate emergencies, becomes justification for the same system of control. The same thing seems to be happening because of the oil shock and the oil shortages around the world because of the Straits of Hormuz. Authorities, not just the World Health Organization, but everywhere, they seem to think that the only way to take control of what's going on is to lock everybody down, take away their transport, give us central bank digital currencies, and keep us under control. And this isn't just an academic question. It isn't just an academic exercise. The May 7th, 2026 City News Post, another title of Public Risk of Hantavirus is Low, World Health Organization says. Now, this article notes that the WHO, the World Health Organization, has put itself at the center of the hantavirus outbreak with the WHO's Director General providing personal updates on the situation, much like the exact same Director General did during COVID. And WHO made a lot of money during that point. Now, I kind of think this is a pretty wild situation for a virus that normally doesn't transmit from person to person. My understanding is you get this from mice. You don't get it from people. People don't have to social distance. Anyway, I've had my vent. Richard?
This is, we saw this back in 2020, didn't we? They were trying this with the COVID or the coronavirus, which they renamed to the COVID-19.
Because then it looks more official.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. And of course, they're just trying this entire playbook again. People that are lying to you, do not obey anything that they tell you. They're not mandates. There's no mandates. And there is no danger of dying unless you actually catch the damn thing, but you can't catch the damn thing.
Not from people, anyway.
No, it's mice.
Yeah.
It's from rodents.
So keep your house clean. Put up mice traps.
Exactly, yeah. Or get a cat that loves to eat mice.
I think it's more important to stay away from ticks. There's been all sorts of stories about the West Texas tick that's supposed to give you an allergy to meat.
The ticks are more prevalent in the East than they are here.
Absolutely. I got to be careful about that. I'm going to have to wear a mask and social distance.
Yeah, right. Or tell the ticks to wear a mask and social distance.
or maybe Tedros. He's the head of the WHO. Maybe he should wear a mask and social distance.
Yeah, actually, he should wear a mask really tight so he can't breathe.
And can't say anything.
Well, yeah, that too.
Any guesses on where this will go?
This one is they're going to try, even though the mainstream media keeps on saying they're not. This is not like the COVID-19 one at all. They keep on saying that. I'm saying that's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to keep on pushing this, and then they're going to try and increase the number of deaths and all sorts of things, and directly attribute it to mouse shit.
Yeah, I see instances where plane crashes will be blamed on mouse shit.
Yeah. So I don't think that it's really something that's worthwhile to be concerned about, because it's just another play on let's scare the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Let's feed them mouse crap. What the heck?
I do think it's something we have to monitor, though. I mentioned Alex Jones 2 weeks ago. His old InfoWars is shut down, and has been he's rebuilt the Alex Jones network now, and he's actually getting just as big of an audience. And he's really worried about Hantavirus. He thinks that it's an intentional plan to lock everybody down again starting fall.
That's what I've been hearing too. It's just they're going to try that, and you just ignore them. You just have to ignore them.
Yeah. I think so. I think it'll be harder to get the police to go along with it this time. I think it'll be easier to get the healthcare people to go along with it, because they'll lose their jobs if they don't. But all the rest of us are not going to do this.
No, the police are not going to fall for it again.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we go on to the next piece?
Sure.
Here we go. Let me pull it off. I get so confused with all these buttons. There's nothing but bullshit and bluster in Iran this week. Both sides are locked into their ongoing strategy of denying access to the Strait of Hormuz to the other side, and hoping that the financial costs of the blockage will force their opponent to the table first before them. Both sides are bleeding. Iran's bleeding. The United States is bleeding. Israel's also bleeding. It's hard to believe that, but Israel's also bleeding. Now, as noted in the May 15th Epoch Time post, Treasury Department alerts U.S. banks to suspected Iranian money laundering efforts. According to this story, the U.S. Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network has issued an alert to financial institutions, warning them of effort by the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to evade sanctions. Now, this suggests to me that the ceasefire, the ceasefire in the Straits of Hormuz, is about to come unglued again. The Americans will seize what they can. The Iranians will blow up what they can. Mostly they'll start blowing up other nations in the Middle East, but things are about to get really fussy out there. U.S. President Donald Trump said really nasty things about the Iranian peace initiative over the last day, so I don't think anything can come soon. But to be fair, that's nothing new. People say yes and no, and fight verbally almost as much as they use weapons. But one thing happened interesting on Sunday. On Sunday, as support for the war was beginning to evaporate, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went on the CBS News magazine 60 Minutes on Sunday to drum up U.S. sympathy for his cause. Here's a quick segment of his conversation on Sunday.
I mean, Churchill, without cell phones and without digital campaigns and farm bots, was labeled a warmonger in the 1930s because he said you have to stand up to Hitler. Right. And they accused him of being a warmonger. And Hitler didn't even say death to America, death to Britain, you know. I think he might have planned it, but he didn't say it. In other words, we have seen the deterioration of the support for Israel in the United States almost, I would say it correlates almost 100% with the geometric rise of social media. And that by itself is not what caused it. And I don't believe in censoring them or anything, but I'll tell you what happened. We have several countries that basically manipulated social media with bot farms, with fake addresses, to break the American sympathy to Israel, to break the American-Israeli alliance because they think it's in their interests. And they do it in a clever way. You know, it's like you hear a text message. I'm a red-blooded Texan. I always supported Israel, but I can't stand what they're doing. I'm turning against Israel. And then you trace the address to some basement in Pakistan, you know. And that's something that has hurt us badly. While we were fighting the physical military battle on 7 battlefields, 7-front war, we were completely exposed on the 8th front, the media war, really the social media war. Anti-Semitism, this vile vilification of the Jews, took a reprieve after the Holocaust. took a reprieve. It took 80 years. You know, it wasn't fashionable to be anti-Semitic, so you didn't say these things in polite society. But it's come back. It's almost like it accompanies us throughout.
What is that about, Mr. Prime Minister?
I think
because I want to stop you right there, because in my career, which started in 1990 in Washington, up until very recently, it was an established fact in Congress. Established fact. The Republicans and Democrats had a default proposition favorable to Israel. Not always, not universally, but a default proposition that began with yes. That's not true anymore. That's less true than at any other time I've covered Washington. That has to be reflective of something else.
yes, it is. Well, these are historical cycles, which
So
my
you're in a
father.
historical cycle.
Yes, we are. I mean, anti-Semitism is.
Ebbed and flowed, yes.
Yeah, it ebbed and flowed, but it flowed throughout our history.
So we're all anti-Semitic
Yeah.
because we oppose Israeli political decisions, and we're corrupted by social media.
Yep. Too damn bad, Netanyahu. You can say what you want, but the people will disagree with you.
I don't know. I think a lot of my personal beliefs about Israeli military choices in the Middle East is predicated on the knowledge that Israel seems to want to blow everyone else up.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. Really.
Yeah.
They want their religion to be the only one that's allowed, but Netanyahu is not a religious man.
He always, I don't know, he goes a little bit, and then the Americans go along with what he wants, and then he asks for more. So I don't know. Yeah. I understand why the Americans aren't following along patiently in lockstep with them anymore.
Well, I'm starting to see that Trump is getting a little tired of that rhetoric.
Yeah. But to be fair, some of the rhetoric, he thinks he was, I think he's getting tired of the war. I think he didn't accomplish what he wanted. And he's essentially looking for a way out. And all he can do, he's hoping the Iranians run out of money before he does.
Well, the Iranians, it doesn't really matter if they run out of money or not. It's their ideology that needs to be curtailed and terminated.
Yeah, maybe. But he wants the government to fall.
Oh, yeah, he wants the government. The government's pretty well fallen already. But the thing is that they have this ideology that he wants to get rid of. Because even if he kills all of it off, even if he kills every one of the Iranians, there's still the ideology, which is still going to hang around. New people will come up.
You don't destroy an ideology by attempting to bomb it back into a Stone Age.
No.
You destroy an ideology by confronting it verbally and proving it a failure.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what the Americans did with Russia. I don't know, 50 years ago at this point. And just that's the only thing that's going to win. And the Americans don't have that moral high ground anymore.
Right. Exactly. That's what will cause it to happen.
I would argue that it's not just the Iranians or the Americans that are running out of money quickly. In Canada, the costs of what people are calling the Iranian war surcharge are officially starting to hit home. Now, national gas prices have surged to a really high price. It looks like, what are they charging now? What do I got? My apologies. I got lost with the slides. I'm sorry. I lost my place for the moment. Wow, the shock. I always lose my place, Richard. I just generally hold it in better than I did tonight. While the shock of the war is felt worldwide, not just in Iran and the United States, the captured physical and economic impact is most concentrated in Asia. This includes China, India, and even Australia, which together receive roughly 80% of the oil which used to flow through the strait. Now, an example, as noted in the May 8th Al Jazeera post, right there, under the title, Global Oil Crisis Forces Scale Down ASEAN Summit in the Philippines. Now, the war has even affected last week's Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit. Even the politicians have been forced to scale back their show. Here's a quick overview of what went on last week.
Cebu, an economic powerhouse, is this week's venue for the ASEAN Summit. And the chair, currently held by Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos, has described the summit as bare bones when it comes to spectacle, but essential. It is a scaled-down membership, only largely because of how the meetings are held. More than 600 meetings have been moved online and is actually bereft this year by the usual grand spectacles that is often seen during summits like this one, and it's all because of the global oil crisis. The global shortage is felt across the region. Nearly every member state has scrambled to get its own supplies. And while unity is the overarching theme, differences are felt in many policies. For example, Singapore has chosen not to negotiate with Iran when it comes to safe passage of its ships on the Strait of Hormuz, due to its policies on freedom of navigation in the Strait of Malaysia. But the Philippines has. This is turning out to be one of the most complicated years for ASEAN, and many has described it as a stress test decade. Then there is Myanmar, a crisis that continues to test ASEAN's ability to act as an effective mediator. But at this week's summit, both Thailand and Cambodia agreed to pursue peaceful dialogue, renewing hopes for the full normalization of relations.
On the issue of land and maritime boundary, I have proposed during the discussion constructive way forward to address this issue in the spirit of good neighborliness.
Many say ASEAN must continue to leverage its influence to keep pace with the growing geopolitical landscape. But the real question is whether it can move from reacting to crisis to anticipating them, while maintaining its culture of non-interference without treating nearly all its domestic issues involving its member states as merely bilateral. Jamela Alindogan, Al Jazeera, Cebu Province, Central Philippines.
Now, in Canada, gas is $1.85 a liter. Major airlines like Air Transat and WestJet are cutting their routes, particularly to the U.S., and they are hiking fees to survive soaring jet fuel costs. Now, also, Statistics Canada reports a sharp 5.5% drop in international travel as the new normal of scarcity forces Canadians to trade European vacations for domestic travel. Now, as noted in the April 20th CHCH post, drivers see relief at gas pumps as temporary federal tax cut goes into effect. Canada cut the gas tax last month in an attempt to compensate for the increasing price of oil, but that temporary price relief is almost all gone, which sort of confuses me. There seems to be more government taxes on this than there used to be, and a lot of the increases in gas prices aren't really reflecting the increase in gas prices for Middle Eastern oil. But on the other hand, the May 7th, something called refdesk.ca post has some good news for us. Airbus and Air Asia have Airbus has sold Air Asia a 150 plane A220 order. This is Canada's largest ever aircraft deal. And it means good things for aerospace workers, suppliers, and Quebec, especially Montreal, where most of the aerospace workers are located. And this notes Prime Minister Mark Carney's pleasure. He didn't organize this sale, but it's pleasure at Airbus's latest commercial aircraft sale to Air Asia. Now, the A220 was once a Bombardier C series. It's a domestically owned and produced plane, but Bombardier couldn't sell enough planes to avoid having to partner with Airbus, which turned it into a success. And for more on this, I'm going to spend a minute or so here checking out the May 6th CBC News post. Airbus Canada secures landmark deal with Air Asia. Before we slip into that, I think it's important to note that I got no idea how we're able to sell so many planes to Asia when air travel is dropping like a rock, but we can't sell electric cars. And this is when the Straits of Hormuz is closed down. Whatever we're picking out of the news as our major stories, it doesn't seem to be reflected in what's actually going on at the business level, which confuses the crap out of me. Anyway, here's the Airbus story.
The Prime Minister celebrating a $19 billion deal. Signed in Quebec, but part of a national ambition. European giant Airbus will sell to AirAsia 150 planes designed and built in Canada.
Thank you for the trust you're placing in Canadian workers, in Quebec, in Mirabel. You're choosing the best at exactly the right time.
The deal opens up a whole new market for the A220 jets.
Today I can say we really are married. We really are together now.
This order is a massive vote of confidence.
The government didn't broker the deal, but it fits Mark Carney's plan to diversify trade away from the U.S.
Our country has twice the rate of investment, foreign direct investment, than the United States, adjusted for the size of our population, twice the rate.
But celebration in the aerospace sector was mirrored by bad news for autos. Honda has reportedly suspended its plans indefinitely to build a $15 billion electric vehicle plant in Ontario.
Probably 10,000 plus new jobs that were going to come from that.
But he says the elimination of EV incentives in the U.S. have hurt Honda's sales.
It's a sad moment for the potential on electrification being centered here in this country.
The Conservative leader says the government's plan to make Canada an EV leader won't work.
To call it an illusion would be generous. It's more like a liberal hallucination.
Others say not every sector in Canada will be in lockstep during a pivot of this size.
It's bound to occur that subsectors will be expanding, others will be growing more slowly. The question is, are you putting the conditions in place to allow them to succeed 5 or 10 years down the road from now?
I don't know, Richard. Everyone says that nobody wants to travel and everybody wants electric cars, but that doesn't seem to be what's happening in actuality.
No, people don't want electric cars. They realize that they're of no use because they can't run in wintertime.
I agree with you there. I have my brother in Alberta had an electric car for a rental one winter while his truck was in the shop, and it wouldn't go up hills. It got maybe like 50 miles on a charge. It took 2 days to charge up because he had to charge it on his home electrical system. He didn't have a charger.
Yep. But it's all lies. The EV, forget the electric vehicle, forget that nonsense. We need to get the Tesla electric system.
Yeah.
Because that's not running on batteries. That's running on ether, on the air. Electricity from the air. And until we actually get that and get that commercially viable for people, I'm not going to touch anything to do with EV.
I also note that even CBC agreed that the Carney Liberals did not broker the Airbus deal.
Right.
But they're taking advantage of that, and they're showing pictures of Carney as if it was all his fault.
Yep. Yeah. of course.
So we're a little biased here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shall we go on to the next piece?
Sure.
We're going a little slow tonight. Have you heard of Canada 2020? It bills itself as Canada's leading independent progressive think tank. But frankly, it's long been linked with the Liberals and Justin Trudeau personally. Here's a story from 2016 about both of them. The president of Canada 2020 is Tom Pitfield, a childhood friend of Trudeau's, who was the Liberals' chief strategist during last year's general election campaign. Now, last week, as outlined in the May 8th Chris George on X post, look who's coming to dinner. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney dined in Toronto with former U.S. President Barack Obama and Alexandra Soros, who not only is George Soros' son, but also chairs the board of directors of the Open Society Foundation, George Soros' funding organization, and he sits on the investment committee for the Soros Fund Management. And you know, I'm sure the three last week got together in Toronto, mostly to talk about the weather. Richard?
Yep, that's probably what they did. It was an expensive weather lunch.
They're not going to talk about business. They're not going to talk about Agenda 2030. They're not going to talk about the need for increasing censorship to keep the children safe. You know, who knows what they're going to talk about?
Yeah, they're probably not going to talk about the fact that I'm refusing to fill out the census thing.
There are a lot of people doing that this week. I don't even remember if I put that in today, but we can mention it quickly. A lot of people are refusing to fill out this year's Canada Census.
Yeah, I was at the mailboxes today, and one guy, the census man found him up there, way up in the high side of the mountain, and he just said, "Nope, not gonna do it." And he says, "But it's a mandate." He says, "Doesn't matter."
I don't think it matters. I'm a little confused. Last week, TELUS announced they were opening 2 new data centers. I think they were both in BC, but I'm not sure. And we have all this surveillance tracking every purchase we make, every place we go, every thought we sing. And yet Statistics Canada still makes us fill out like a huge form once every 5 years.
Yep. Such foolish idiots there, the bureaucrats.
It's like in the Post.
What's interesting is I'm either doing the story tomorrow or Friday, or else it's happened. I did it today. I can't remember. There's a story on the data centers.
Okay.
And they showed the video, and they panned around, and then all of a sudden you see these 2 huge diesel electric generators spewing out black smoke.
Oh, wow.
The caption on that was, geez, haven't heard much about the climate agenda lately, ever since the AI data centers are taking precedence.
I think it's important to mention that saying climate agenda in polite company these days is a way to get invited out.
Oh, nice.
I think the climate agenda fell the wayside. Must be almost 20 years ago when that UK university, they released all the emails where people were talking about, I know climate change is important, but I can't get the data to fit. How are we going to get the data to fit to support all these climate hypotheses?
Right, exactly.
I don't remember which university that was. That was so long ago.
Yeah, it's all this stuff that's happening these days is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Good thing that we're able to point it out to people how stupid these idiots are that are trying to pass on these ridiculous agendas. They really don't get it.
I don't know what they're going to do. There is a lot of legislation on the books, particularly in Canada, that reflects the climate agenda. We still have the carbon tax in law, although Carney has given us a deal. He's not going to enforce it for a little while.
Oh, goody, goody, goody.
You want to go on to our next piece?
Sure.
Sure, he says. You sound so sad. But this is a good news piece. You what?
I'm so frustrated with that carnage.
I don't blame you. But like I said, this is a good news piece. Reform UK, led by Brexit architect Nigel Farage, made historic gains in England's local elections last week. They won hundreds of local council seats. They won control of multiple authorities, which is municipalities, I think, in London. They took control of London Borough, Havering, Essex, and a lot of northern strongholds like Sunderland. And they topped vote share in many areas. Labour, on the other hand, suffered massive losses. Hundreds of seats, local seats, in dozens of councils, while Conservatives also declined in overall vote total and in the seats they control. Now, Nigel Farage hailed a truly historic shift in British politics. And in the past, when a party leads substantially in local elections, they are probably going to get a near majority or a majority in the next federal elections. Now, everybody's arguing that the results splinter the traditional two-party system and pile pressure on Prime Minister Keir Starmer to resign. But I sort of think it's a prediction of the future. Farage is not perfect, but he is well respected. Hopefully, parties in Canada like the PPC can learn what happens in the UK over the next couple of years, and maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Richard?
Yep, maybe. I don't. The stuff that's happening in the UK, I just basically stopped following them because they're complete idiots out there.
Yeah, come now. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, they're not doing any good to their own people.
No, Keir Starmer has flip-flopped on an incredible number of issues, almost from day one. Almost as if about the time he was being elected, he got bought off by someone and started implementing the same policies as the Conservatives.
Right. Yeah.
It's sort of like some of the policies that U.S. President Trump promised he would never follow through on, that he is now in the midst of following through on.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know. At some point, we will figure out what's going on. But until then, this is another example of people want peace. The people want sensibility. They want a return to the way things were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And they want things to work. They don't want governments to screw them around. So I think that's...
They don't want governments to control them. They want governments to do their job and govern.
Yeah. No, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Another piece to go on. This is a confusing one, and this is in Alberta. A pro-separation group, the Centurion Project, which seems to be linked to the Registered Republican Party of Alberta, seems to have illegally accessed and posted online Alberta's full list of voters, electors. The list contains name, home addresses, contact details for roughly 2.9 million voters. And this is really uncomfortable. The breach, one of Canada's largest, occurred as separatists gathered signatures for an independent referendum push. They have completed those lists at this point. They presented it to the Alberta government. But Elections Alberta is launching an investigation into the data breach, and they sent cease and desist letters to over 500 people who accessed the data, and they seem to have obtained a court order to remove the searchable database. Now, the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Alberta says it has received more than 180 emails and phone calls from Albertans concerned about the recent online publication of this list. Now, the the Office of Information and Privacy Commissioner of Alberta, that's a long name, by the way, they have published a frequently asked questions document right there. It outlines what the commissioner can and cannot do, what law governs the matter, and where Albertans should direct some of their questions. My understanding is that the head of the Centurion Project, a guy whose name I've forgotten, has at press time so far refused to take down the list. So this is probably going towards a climax over the next couple of days. But it's also important that the scandal has fueled accusations of political interference, identity theft, and eroded trust in electoral integrity. It intensifies already heated debates over Alberta's separatism under Premier Danielle Smith, and opposition leaders have begun questioning government's knowledge of the matter, and they're calling for some sort of accountability. And security experts, as they always do at a time like this, warn of broader vulnerabilities in Canada's voting system and suggest you hire them to figure out what's going on. Richard, you're on the West Coast. What do you think?
I really don't have an opinion on that. It's odd.
Yeah, I'm still here.
There's just way too many other things for me to deal with.
Yeah, you think this is kabuki theater?
Well, yeah. I mean, what are people wanting nowadays out of their existence? I just want to be left alone to do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to deal with bureaucrats and things like that. Today, the censor guy went halfway up the mountain there to find a guy to get a censor thing, and the guy just said, "Nope, not doing it." But it's a mandate. He says, "Nope, not for me. It's not." So he chased him off, and then of course I had the same censor people coming by here, and I said, "Nope, not interested." So she said, "Okay, bye."
You think we should cultivate a cultured indifference to the stupidity going on in the major political centers?
Exactly. And I think we're doing a story on Pat King next.
No. One story before Pat King. Actually, we can go do Pat King.
Oh, did we?
No, we haven't done Pat King yet, and we're running out of time. So I may avoid the piece and go into the Pat King piece. Want to do that?
Well, what's interesting is Pastor Art is also going back to court tomorrow.
Who?
Pastor Art Pawlowski.
Oh my God! I thought there was just one person going back tomorrow.
Well, Pat King's going back to court, and of course they want to chase him, and Pastor Art, they're trying to chase him.
Pastor Art is also going back to court.
Yep. There's a court hearing.
What's Pastor Art going back to court for?
It's a court hearing, but I'm not exactly sure. It says, "Stand for truth, stand for freedom. We stand for with Pastor Arthur." And worship service is outside the courthouse at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and Calgary Courthouse, and then on Wednesday, May 13th. So, anyways, they're really making a big deal about this. Same thing with Pat King.
I think you're right. We talked about this before we started the show, and you know my consensus. I think these people are being harassed until bankrupt because of a political issue, and the government's never going to give up. The government never has to win a court case. It just has to keep you wrapped up in court till you go bankrupt or have a heart attack or something.
That's right, until you die.
Yeah.
Financially or physically.
Best of luck to both Pastor Pawlowski and Pat King as well. I think there are more going back to court over the next few months.
Yeah, and Tamara Leach is doing a lot of interesting stuff too.
Yeah, I think that's just like major frightening.
But they're not really chasing her.
Yeah.
she's off doing all sorts of things, being a very public figure.
Yes.
She'll probably go into politics eventually.
I've heard that. This is, yeah, she's photogenic. She's intelligent. She's talkative. And she's funded by the Democracy Center. She's funded by the Justice Society for Constitutional Freedoms, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
So she picked up the best friends.
Yeah.
But I don't think this should happen to anybody. Not just her. I want Pat King to run for office and win. I want Arthur Pawlowski to become I don't know, moderator of the biggest church in Canada, or maybe he can be Pope next. Who knows?
Yeah. And that's amazing.
These are people who stand by their morals.
That's right. Yeah. Especially Arthur.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that Pat King does the same, and same thing with Tamir. I've met Pat King. He is such an honest man.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've shaken his hand, given him hugs and all that stuff. I've videoed him, I interviewed him, and etc. So, yeah, he is an honest man. And so is Arthur. I've interviewed him many times.
Absolutely correct. One last piece tonight, I believe. I think it's yours. You recommended it.
Yeah. Now, what did I recommend again? Grapefruit. Yes. I've been talking about this for years and years and years. We'll watch this little clip here, but we'll discuss this a bit more after.
Let's play the video, and we'll get back to it. This is the May 2nd Mungo Minds at BitChute post. Grapefruit and the pill. Big Harma can't exist with nature, so they fear you away from it. Here we go.
I always think about how the doctors tell you not to eat grapefruit when you're on medication. You know why? Because grapefruit counters all the medication and heals your body from almost every illness. The bitter in the grapefruit is very beneficial. Helps with your blood, helps with your brain, helps with your stomach, helps with everything. So yeah, that's kind of why they tell you, don't be mixing and matching, because then you're going to get off those pills, you know? And a simple search is just health benefits of grapefruit in Google or Yandex, and check these out. Pretty wild, huh?
How about that, huh?
That's fascinating.
Yeah. There was 20 years ago, I read the side effects and things to be aware of with, I think it was my mom's pills or my dad's pills at the time. I can't remember.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, in there it said, do not eat grapefruit. Do not drink grapefruit juice. And no explanation. So I did some research. It's because it'll basically interfere with what the medications are trying to do. Okay. But it is the medications are basically trying to poison you.
Fascinating.
So why should you stop taking the natural stuff? Now, granted, some of the stuff that's out there now is genetically modified, so it doesn't have all the oomph as it did before. But I've got a bottle of grapefruit juice in my fridge, and every once in a while I buy a couple of grapefruits, and I just enjoy those. Somebody's trying to phone me.
Yeah, they can talk to you after.
I'm doing a show.
This is one of a long listing of healthy foods.
Yes, absolutely.
That you've recommended over the last couple of months to things that we can use instead of vaccines and Hantavirus vaccines.
Exactly. Yeah, and don't do vaccines. Don't do vaccines. Jeez. Yeah. They're just injecting you with poison.
I think we should wind up now, and I'm hoping you will tell me what's on your plate for the next week.
Tomorrow I'm going to travel to town and enjoy the nice smooth road, sort of smooth. Do a little bit of shopping and come back, and maybe I'll do some work outside. Depends on how hot it is.
Okay.
I do have to paint the these stands that we're using for the new solar panels for the farm store.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll do that. That'll be my work for tomorrow. And then Thursday and Friday, I'll do a show.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday will be a long show, and Friday will be my regular 8 stories.
Mm-hmm.
And Saturday, I'm not too sure. We're expecting company. We're expecting some campers to coming out on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be stocking up the farm store on Friday and Saturday, and Sunday we'll do our show. Monday I'll do my morning show, and Tuesday we'll do this show again.
I think we are doing this show again on Tuesday. I'm not sure what's happening on Saturday. I picked up a contract to do marketing for a local company.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm required to go into the office a couple days a week. I don't know my schedule yet, but I will get it over the next few days. I think we will be doing one show this weekend. I'm not sure what show we're doing. I actually really enjoy doing the Roasting the Press. I think this show is becoming more of a cookie cutter show. I think we do a good job with it, but I think the Roasting the Press show is something that's more needed at this time, to be honest.
Right.
So I will let you know probably on Thursday evening what the schedule is for next week. Sure. And by the end of next week, we should be able to tie it down to something hard and fast again. Does that make sense?
Right. Yep.
And I feel really bad about this because we've been doing pretty good for the last year and a half, 2 years, 2.5 years. It's a shame to suddenly have everything up in the air again.
Yeah, that's okay.
So that's okay. We'll get the hang of it. And as for Freedom Forum, we normally record every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's last week today. We are on a variety of internet platforms, including the one you were watching. We republish the show the next day. We had notes. It's on our Substack page at chuckblack.substack.com. And most of our stuff slides behind a paywall after a month online. So if you'd like to maintain access, the easiest thing to do is to sign up for a monthly subscription. Low cost, lots of fun, $20 Canadian a month, $160 per year, gives you access to archived posts, anything over a month old, plus includes lots of in-depth articles not covered in our regular stories. We also have a Substack app to help you access Freedom Forum stories from your phone and subscriber chat so you can tell us what you really, really want. My name is Chuck Black. I directed this show using StreamYards, which we recommend, both Richard and I. We both use it for our own shows, but only if you sign up either using Richard's or my link. We get a little bonus out of this at the end of each month to help defray some of our costs. And, it helps us buy a steak every once in a while. Now, the show notes will be up on Substack tomorrow, and we will be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, probably. But we'll be back with another edition of either Last Week Today or Roasting the Press, either on Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time or Tuesday at 8 p.m. And then the week after that, everything will settle down into a schedule again. Richard, are you still there? Did I forget anything?
No, you covered it all.
Then good night. You're going outside in the beautiful weather. I'm slightly envious of you.
Actually, I'm going to stretch out on the bed for a bit before I go outside.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will talk to you in a couple of days. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.